Remind you that the program is interactive. The number to call is 457-9997 and WhatsApp us at 457-9994. I don't know over English. What's going on?
And we are live on Facebook as well as
Of course.
YouTube. All
Yes.
righty. All right, young man, lead the way.
So I had a talk about this video that I think it was posted on Friday. It looked like it happened somewhere between Thursday and Saturday,
Mm.
where we saw a group of people at that's old Tokyo, Little Tokyo, outside of Little Tokyo,
Mhm.
outraged because some members of the town board picks up picked up a pot belonging to a vendor that was I can't even tell from the video what he was grilling or roasting.
Well, it was a pot. Well, I don't know what the pot contained. It was a big pot. So I don't know if
Yeah,
it's like
coal pot.
corn or
Could
whatever.
be corn.
Corn or, yeah.
A lot of people were mad at it. They're asking why would they do that? Why would they do this to poor people, etc. etc.
Mhm.
Now, for the past couple of years, the tongue board has been requesting that persons not vend in that area. They've actually banned it. There's not supposed to be any vending of any kind in that area. And then the other problem I had with it was that area where the pot was. It's in between where pedestrians are supposed to walk freely. Now that is a hot pot in the middle of where pedestrians are supposed to walk freely. And
Yeah, and that is actually a very narrow area as well.
a very,
Too.
very narrow
Yes, a
area,
very
and
narrow area.
it's just vibes. It's just vibes. I mean, anyway, to just strike up a pot.
Yeah.
Now I could understand if you have the pot closer to the wall, interfere with anybody, and a little hustle.
Understand that. Continue
Yeah, I could
here.
understand that. Yeah, and a little hustle. You're just trying to make a quick buck. This place, a lot of people going in and out of Tokyo. It's a high traffic area. But then when you have the pot there in the open, where it's a fire, it's a hazard, and then these persons come and remove the pot, I'm assuming that they would have warned him before. I don't know. I stand to be corrected. WhatsApp us 457-9994. Call us 457-9997. We're also live on Facebook and YouTube at WEFM Facebook page. Inform me, because I would like to assume that he was warned. And they took up the pot and they threw the coals into the gutter. And people are outraged. Like, why would they do this? This is poor people.
Yeah, give him a chance.
Give him a,
Give him a
you know, it always
chance.
had that old woman. Oh God,
Yeah,
give him a chance. Let a huge strive. Give him a
Yeah.
chance. It always had that old person, right? But wrong is wrong and right is right.
Yeah, you see, the issue of street vending has always been I don't know. I've always been in between with it because I can understand the persons trying to help themselves to make a living, right? We know that last year there was a sort of massive sweep, especially within the markets area, under the galleries, the sidewalks, etc. Um, in terms of getting persons off the street. The other thing is that the town board was trying to get persons to utilize the central markets because we know that another one was opened recently opposite the port, the port's office, right? So on one hand, I feel it for persons who are trying to make an honest living. However, on the other hand, we've always had the issue of there being a lot of congestion on the sidewalks within Kingston because of persons selling. Now, with the fact that they have cleaned, and I don't really like the term cleaning up town because cleaning up town might imply that persons selling, you're looking at them in a different light, in a derogatory way. In terms of getting persons to off the streets, persons who are selling, when you have to look at the situation is that this has been done, yes. But I think the biggest problem that I have is that town board isn't consistent with it. And I think that if town board was consistent with it, then you would not have this outcry by persons whenever these type of situations happen. You see people vending directly under a no vending sign. How is this allowed? How does this happen? Right? If town board does it every day, as in you see a new person out on the street, in the case of this person's whose pot was taken away, and I guess the other thing too is what was done with the pot. What happened to the contents of the pot? Was it returned to him? We don't know those details.
I'd like it if it was returned to him.
I just hope that it wasn't thrown away. That's my only hope, because wasting food doesn't make sense. But if town board doesn't do this act on a consistent basis, then you're always going to have persons feeling as though these one-off situations, or when these situations are recorded, that person might take it that they're being victimized. And as you hear in the video, someone is saying, give him a chance. Now, maybe this person, as you said, he might have been warned beforehand. But the other thing too is, how many warnings are you going to give a person before taking action?
That is true.
Right. All right. So Trevor's saying, if anyone did get hurt, the question becomes, why did the town board not see this danger? You really can't. I believe it's can't.
I believe it's can't. You're going to say.
Yeah. So it's.
I think it's what you said. They need to be consistent, because it's not, oh, my friend, they vending boy, let me leave them alone. And then you see somebody else that you don't know, and you're like, oh, no, let me.
Yeah, you give.
I hope that is not the case.
You get, because the thing of it is that we still see a lot of vending going on in the streets, right?
Yeah.
Given what happened last year, was it last year? Early? Yeah, I think it's last year. Given what happened last year, is town board still collecting money from these persons on a daily basis when you see new persons on the street? So we have to look at all of those type of situations. It's a challenge given the economic situation for many persons. Many persons do not wish to necessarily be employed by others. They may be finding difficulty. So persons are going to try to utilize high traffic areas to be able to sell their items. But one of the other things too, and I was absolutely and still am guilty of this, in that a lot of the problem goes back to us as Vincentians, because if I know that in walking down the road, I can pick up my produce along the road, then I do not go to the market, right? So it has to do with the habits of many of us as well, in that we, as the consumers or the purchasers, encourage this type of activity.
But it's exactly what you said. If I know that it is there, if it is not there, then I have to go to the market. Right. We have 3 markets that I know of in town. They have the old market, the what's that? The vegetable market,
the central market,
and the market up the road around Palace area.
3 or 2.
There's another one up.
Right. So central market.
The market across the street from the central market, the old market.
All right.
Yes, and the market up the road. Right. So it's not like vendors don't have the options. And from what I understand, the prices aren't out, the rent isn't out of this wall.
Yeah. But that's the thing. If we don't, and I said, I am guilty of it, because if I walk along the street and I know that I can pick up stuff, then I'm not going into the market. And to be honest, I have to be looking for something very particular for me to go into the market. So it also goes back to our behavior as well. And persons are going to come out on the streets. When you look at Middle Street sometimes, and I've always been curious about Middle Street in particular, because some of the persons who are vending in Middle Street are actually vending for the stores that are who they're directly in front of, and this is because they're trying to gain the sales of persons who are passing along the street, because persons are not necessarily going to go within your line of vision, so it also goes back to our culture as well. And where does it break? Where does it end? Because
the culture was, you go to the old market during the week, and Saturdays is when you utilize a street. I don't know the name. But then it had come to a point where everyday people wanted to be on the street. And it causing traffic congestion. It's dirty. It was very nasty there. My grandmother was in the market. My uncle and aunt they had stores in the market. And I still feel, and I kind of wishy-washy because as it comes to Middle Street, as it relates to Middle Street, I don't have a problem with Middle Street. But Middle Street, I don't think the vendors leave there dirty. I don't think it's congested. They are both sides. You already know who the vendors are. You already know what to look for when you're walking through Middle Street. And it's not as much of a problem as where Vera is, or Peppercorn is. And I really believe that that entire area around Peppercorn and even across the road at Tokyo should have been cleaned up a long time ago, just because of the presentation. It's never a nice look.
Yeah, but you see, it also goes back to the lack of employment issue that we have, or some persons may say that we don't have, but people are really just trying to help themselves. Now, I know that in the past, especially like when you walked on the bank of SVG going down on that's what, back street, on under that back street gallery, or even on the Waidelima area, what used to be Waidelima, where Home Center is
Home
now.
Center, yes.
All across there was difficult to walk, and I would walk in the road instead, because I cannot deal with having to bump into people and people standing up. The thing is that people might be patronizing persons on the sidewalk, but they stand up right in the middle of the road, not even by the side. The middle of the sidewalk. They stand up right in the middle and conduct business. So all of that causes the congestion. But it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing for me to view, because I know that there are many persons who have sent their children to school based on selling on the street. I remember as a child, right there to the entrance of Tokyo, a guy used to be selling corn, and mommy would buy corn for us on an evening from that particular person. So it's difficult for me to view it, because I know that there are many persons who are just honestly trying to help themselves. But when you have, and especially at Christmas time, when you have the concessions and so many things come in the barrels, and people, a lot of people get these things and they're selling them, the tongue becomes too congested. And then we have the cruise ship season coming up, so it's not just Vinci's, those selling on the galleries, etc. But you have regular Vinci's trying to pass, and then you have the tourists or our visitors here. It's just yeah.
I think it's always challenging trying to get into Little Tokyo as well. But yeah, I remember when I was in primary school, when school finished, I could barely pass by Bonadi, Waidelima. They were filled with vendors, but it's not their only option. We have 3 markets. It's not their own, and the markets have space.
Yeah, but you see, as I said, it goes back to our mindset. If you know that you can pick up your sweet peppers and tomatoes along the road, are you going to go into the market?
You see, but it sounds like we have in a chicken and egg.
Yes, and that to me
discourse,
is exactly
right?
what it is.
Yeah, but if they are removed and they were given the order to remove themselves, then we have to go to the market. There's nothing wrong with the market. I remember when the market was just erected, it was a lining spot. Everybody wanted to be in the market.
But then you also realize too that persons don't necessarily want to go into the market, and like the upper floors of the market, I can't even tell you like now how much of those places are utilized, because the other thing is that we don't want to go upstairs.
They're being utilized, yeah. Seeing plenty videos on social media showing us that they're being
we're
utilized.
talking about business here, all right? Proper transaction, money passing, that kind of business. Right? But then that's the other thing too, is that as for us as Vincentians, we don't necessarily like to go up into buildings, so if it's not on the ground floor,
if we have to, we will.
Yeah.
If we have to, we will. And now that we have to, the vendor should comply.
Yeah. So we have a comment here from someone. Some people have the mindset, if I can ply my trade. Some people have the mindset that if I pay, I can apply my trade anywhere. It still has to be done in a proper manner, and not affecting pedestrians from walking.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know that persons had once suggested that maybe what we need to have like is a flea market type setting. Maybe use somewhere like Heritage Square, where maybe a day in the week, let's say during Christmas time, allow persons to set up little stalls to sell there to ease up some of the congestion that's on the road.
So,
but
Asia has a night market culture. So around, I would say 5-6 p.m., they would erect little stalls. Same way They used to erect the stalls for market outside of the market there. They could create like a little village. So like if we walk in from Peppercorn going around to that street to Bank of SVG, you'll have different stalls and people selling, like we have corn, we have what roadside. We have people always doing soups and
bread nuts.
bread nuts.
You could just have
I really think
things.
we should introduce something like that. And maybe they would feel like, okay, if I'm doing this at night and this is something that people coming out to see, then we don't need to do it in the day. Or if we're doing it in the day, let's use the market in the day and do this in the night. I feel like at some point you have to meet tongue board halfway.
Yeah. All right. So let's take some of these comments that we're getting. So good morning to Rohan. Good morning to Doug. Lennox Charles says the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines usually call on the government to clean up public areas that are being used after it was dirty by the same public. But when the authorities attempt to do the tidying up, everyone around will gang up against the offenders. And the same thing goes to the police. That sort of behavior may be part of a lot of the unsolved murders that the country is seeing now. And if this attitude continues by the public, the problem will be worse when it comes.
And that's part of what he's saying there. I agree with, because people would complain, hey, we can't walk on the streets, it's so dirty here, we need to do better, what is going on? And then the minute that the government gets involved, like, why would they do this to poor people?
Actually does their work. It's what they're supposed to
do. It's complain. When it's resolved, complain about the way it's being resolved. I don't understand. You really can't win.
Yeah, but I mean, as I said, I do feel it for persons. I honestly do. How it is that we're going to fix this, I also don't know.
I don't have the answer for that. But I think the way that we fix it is by the vendors and tongue board meeting each other halfway.
But what is halfway in this case, Ari? What would halfway be? Because tongue board has a right, if somebody is where they're not supposed to be, to take them off. I know. So that's not even meeting halfway. That is carrying out their mandate.
Yeah, but my stupid advice is apply the night market. Let's try it out one of these days where Christmas is coming, Independence is coming. Let's try it out and see what happens. We have a call.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning. This question with the market and clinic, it just pain me because people have to eat food, people have to buy food. All the market people, it have a document with the market people precisely say that the main problem in the marketing, I would say, is that while the government is doing great things and you can't take that away from the party and the leadership. But you see, with people, the human elements have to help the government to implement the work. This is where the problem lies. Because I can understand how market people are up fire. They are thing organizing and people in authority humbug the thing because they say people in going to school. That is what the fundamental problem is. Hey, we have a problem in the country. People have to respect authority, and people who the authority put in place have to respect the people who the authority put them to serve, and to understand that the ordinary people who feels it, knows it, so they can come up with things to help. When the market people organize it by their network group and everything, I expect people to applaud them and support, but instead of that, it ain't come from upstairs to crush that thing. That is the fundamental problem. The other thing, people have to eat, buy food. And you see the public who go in and buy food on the market, buy fish all about, I believe them should be arrested. If you do that, the people will go in the market, we supporting too much adultism in the country, and then you come to the fact that you are a proper politician, not politician, because they will be a politician, they will stand up for a good for St. Vincent. But they believe in capitalizing on the people's emotion to create chaos and mayhem in our country, and feeding in to the ignorance of the people for the political purpose. And if people, whether NDP, ULP are no party people and stamp the foot and pull up one another are the good things that this present regime doing could end up in smoke, fire, and brimstone because we losing reason. How people go go buy fish? The authority telling you go buy fish in the hot sun. You know the public are going to buy them, so we don't blame the authority. Yet to extent, the police must collaborate with the authority to put order in the country. If that happens, we will end up in smoke down the road. Let me tell them people who creating Babylon in the society because of politics. You have me, I love the pick me on them. Lord God, our government will go out with just now. All we who coming up is a natural process. Eat, sleep, wake, and walk. Eat, sleep, wake, and walk. That is something humanity know from the inception of a man's existence. And they had to understand that we left the country better than we meet it. Stop the dotishness.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you, caller,
thanks
for your contribution.
Caller,
all right. So the caller did actually
make some good points.
No, but he made an interesting point, which is something I've always been curious about. Persons who sell fish on the street.
We're not supposed to do these things.
Yeah, but and you see, it also goes back to the issue of the consumer. Now, if they did not have persons buying, would they still be there? For me, I can never buy fish on the street. I need to see my fish on ice.
On ice, I go frightened.
You know, not in the hot sun, as the person said. I need to see it on ice.
But then the extreme was, you say you need to start locking up the people.
But okay, so I am not going to necessarily go to that extreme, but he's talking about enforcement of what should be done.
Yeah.
You know, so that is where we have
police them, yes, lock up extreme.
Yeah. But remember, Tom Board generally goes along, police accompanies them whenever they have these situations of removing things.
I didn't see any police.
Yeah, police officer was there.
A police officer was there? Wow, good eye. I didn't see that.
Look at this again. All right. We have a comment. So good morning to Fitzroy, as well as good morning to Erica, who's listening to us from Sabre. And Vinci Hero says selling fish on the streets is dangerously hazardous. And I am in agreement with you. But of course, if there isn't supply and demand, if you don't know that you are going to get a sale, then you will not be there. You know, so I've always found it interesting that persons buy fish from off the street. Like, that's risking your health.
I still stand on the same point that let's try the night market thing. Let's see if vendors will go into the market in the day, come up, we find an area with rules.
Yeah, and
vend that night.
You know, as you said, this
could be a Friday night.
Yeah.
No, for real. We could bring back the Friday night line.
There's also another point by extension, because as you are suggesting this, and that's the thing, we need to have options available, because what I've noticed is that in Vinci, businesses operate the same time as persons who go to work, they operate. So businesses open at 4, open at 8, they close around 4:35, which is generally same time that persons go to work for, right? So let's say even if you want to run off and work from work during your lunch hour, you're trying to eat lunch plus do whatever shopping that you need to do, right? I've always thought that what we need to have in Vinci is extended hours for persons who, let's say, don't work within Kingstown. They can be able to patronize a business afterwards. Now, I know that there are going to be persons with the businesses who saying that things might already be slow in the day. You can't necessarily say that they're going to make money if they extend their hours. But, you know, we have to also be able to try these things. And I think your idea of the street vending, especially at Christmas time, would be good. You know, if persons, and the other thing too, remember, we also have 9 mornings. So if you have those areas set up, you can capitalize on persons who are already coming into town for 9 mornings.
There's a right way and a wrong way to do things.
So maybe we just need to come up with these suggestions. And apart from that, though, persons may also ask, so what's going to happen to them outside of these busy seasons? How are they going to make their living? Maybe we could come up with different ideas, different times of the year and so forth. But yeah, the situation does need to be addressed. Nobody wants the people to suffer financially, but we also do need to recognize that Kingstown is small. The sidewalks are small, and all of us are competing for the same space, and it's not safe for us to end up walking in the road, which is what most of us tend to do in the end, So
let's take one more comment before we
all right. So persons, okay, so they're typing. So let's probably go to ads and then we come back. Wrap this up in the next segment.
Okay, all right.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's a whole new world out there. Reaching new customers and getting products faster. That's what it's all about. Ocean freight rates are skyrocketing, so don't pay more for slower service. It's time to switch to faster, more reliable air cargo service with SkyMax Cargo. Up to 3 flights weekly to and from the USA, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean islands. Providing excellent import,